You're listening to Unlocking Vulnerability, a podcast produced by Helen, helping you better understand consumer vulnerability. Hello, I'm Helen Pettifer, and welcome to Unlocking Vulnerability. You may be intrigued to know what I'll be talking about today in this episode based on the title, and it may cause a little bit of controversy, and it may also divide some people's opinions. I have been paying close attention to my social media feed recently, looking at the posts that have been published. There's an awful lot of posts around how we should be practicing mindfulness, we should be positive and grateful, especially when we had the sunshine recently as well. Really encouraging people to get out for a walk in nature, do colouring, knitting, reading, learning a new skill or a language, or even baking cakes. And I don't know about you, but I have only just finally got flour in my weekly shopping. The chances of cooking cakes were absolutely not going to happen. I'm literally exhausted. I'm physically, emotionally and mentally exhausted with everything that's going on around coronavirus. We're just starting week 8 of lockdown. I'm going to admit it's been a real challenge. And I've had some good days, I've had some bad days, and I've had some days when all I've wanted to do is just sit and cry. I really do admit that it's been challenging. It's only in the last couple of weeks that I've really started to get more motivated to get things done. Before that, there wasn't any chance at all that I would be doing any of what those social media posts were encouraging me to do. I have absolutely no doubt that I'm not the only one, and every single one of us is finding this challenging. Being locked down, being restricted, finding it difficult coping with exactly what's going on in the world. We are all now potentially vulnerable. This vulnerability is affecting us all in a very different, diverse, complex way. Some of us may be facing financial challenges, we've lost jobs, we've been furloughed, some of us are small business owners. I'm personally a small business owner. It's been a real challenge. April has been a real challenge for me as a small business owner. A lot of us are facing lockdown challenges, setting up the logistics of working from home, childcare and homeschooling. Actually, some of us may just be lonely and isolated. You can be lonely and isolated in a very busy household, in a very busy family. So it's not just the people who are living on their own. And of course, there's a number of us who are probably having significant challenges to our mental health. Many are still in survival mode and struggling to cope and get through the day. And for many people, facing this situation, this lockdown, can be incredibly debilitating. And that's not taken into account some of the extreme vulnerability that is out there. The numbers of domestic abuse calls to helplines have gone up significantly since lockdown, and according to reports, there have been an increase in killings of victims as well. Just last week, there was a BBC News article actually talking about parents who are living with violent and angry children. So it's almost sort of twisting it on its head, and the parents are facing vulnerability based on their children's behaviour and anger. There's also been obviously a significant number of deaths and people facing bereavement. I also want to share with you some of the other issues that people are facing during this lockdown period. So there are a number of people who are living in flats. They have no gardens, they have no parks or green spaces around them, so they cannot actually get out of the house and exercise and get some fresh air. So that must be incredibly challenging. There may be many people who are actually not getting a break from the people that they're isolating with. Can really cause feelings of claustrophobia. There's no room to escape, no way of getting privacy or alone time. This can really impact and limit the number of opportunities that victims of domestic abuse can have in reaching out and getting in touch with helplines that will offer support without being overheard. You've also got many lone parents who are with their children 24/7, facing this crisis without support, and it may be that they used to rely on external support, grandparents, parents, friends and family who would actually support them with childcare, and actually now facing lockdown, they're facing this alone. And also you've got the stress of financial poverty, so just putting food on the table is not always possible. People are not able to afford mobile phones and internet to keep in touch with loved ones. And of course there are people who are living in dangerous homes and neighbourhoods and not in an environment that can actively help people with their mental health. For the people who are going through these vulnerabilities that I've just mentioned, they are struggling to cope with getting through each minute, each hour, each day. To them, having 5 minutes peace to practice mindfulness, breathing or yoga or sitting and reading are not something that they even consider. They have significant challenges and they are just trying to cope day by day. Their priority is to just get through life in the only way that they know. What is shocking is that these people will be your friends, your colleagues, your connections on LinkedIn, and your customers. We have no idea what personal challenges people are facing and how this pandemic could be making their situations far worse. So in this episode, I want to share some ways that we can all help and support people. The most important way that we can help is to provide an opportunity for those that we are interacting with to talk. Listening is the greatest gift you can give anyone, and I mean really listen to the response. And it may be that you've asked the question, how are you feeling, how are you doing, and you've got back the answer, yeah, I'm doing okay, it's okay, I'm okay. And actually it is just an automatic response mechanism. Just whenever you have been asked that, you then say, I'm doing okay. But then follow up with the question, how are you really doing? Soften your voice, soften your tone, use their name and just say, how are you really doing? And then pause. Pauses are so valuable when you are talking to people, allowing them the opportunity to share what they're thinking, share how they're feeling. Really listen. And it may be that they tell you that they're not doing so well. And that's great that they've opened up, they've given you the opportunity to listen. If they tell you something that you really don't know what to do with, information that you really don't know what to do with, turn around and say, I don't know what to say to that, but I'm just really pleased you told me. It's a really powerful statement and it really shows the other person that you care. It's really important that you don't try to solve their problems. As humans, we want to make things better. We want to offer advice. It's important to recognise that actually there are times when somebody doesn't want your advice. They don't want you to make things better. They just want you to listen. It's also important not to make assumptions about people. Often we look at people and we see their personality as bubbly, friendly, outgoing, and we think they'll be absolutely fine, they'll be coping absolutely fine with this. And actually that may not be the case. They may be struggling as much as you are, or even worse than you. You don't know their situation. Never make assumptions about people based on their behaviour and their personality. And what we really should be mindful of is being conscious of the message that we're putting out on social media. Sometimes it's not always helpful to tell your friends and contacts that you are running 10k, that you've completed a 2-hour yoga session, that you've turned your kids into the Von Trapp family, or you've even learnt Swahili. These are obviously extremes. Some people are just trying to get through lockdown, and they don't want to be made to feel guilty for not having come out the other end of this with a new language, a new skill, or become a master chef. They are just getting through each and every day. And for many people, they've won the day if they've just got out of bed that morning and showered. Again, I want to wish you well. Please stay safe. Stay well, stay home, and we will come out this the other side. Remember to subscribe to my podcast and leave a review. You can also follow me on Twitter at @HPettiferTrain, and I look forward to you joining me on my next episode.